Hi everyone, this is day 2 of our campaign, Old Car Not Bekar. We have been inundated with calls for the last 24 hours and we are opening up our phone lines once again this evening. We are opening up our phone lines because this country belongs to its citizens and no government or agency has the right to treat tax-paying citizens of this country as criminals. No government or department has any mandate to trample upon the dignity of citizens. And if that happens, we the citizens need to question it as loudly as possible. In the last 24 hours, you have complained loudly as the Transport Department in Delhi is impounding vehicles and sending them to scrapyards without as much as a notice to the vehicle owners. Yes, they are doing it under the instruction of the Supreme Court because petrol cars over the age of 15 and diesel cars over the age of 10 in Delhi have been outlawed. But has the Supreme Court said that you can flout all rules and pick up cars from anywhere you want to, outside people's homes and offices, from parking spots inside colonies and gated societies as well? This is something that is happening all across the national capital and people are fuming at this high-handedness. Listen in.
You said your cars have been taken away without any notice. So I want to know more about what happened.
Well, actually, the whole episode landed to me like a brain damage. It was such a disaster to me because it was not been informed in time. I mean, we were not aware of it, something like going to happen. And suddenly, the bunch of people, they just attack. I tell you, it was a real attack on the cars. And they just jumped on my car and start locking it up and wrapping up with the rope. And before I ask anything, they said, your RW has already been informed, but we have not received any kind of notification for that. And in front of me, I mean, they took away my peace of heart. Yeah, it is that emotional.
The Supreme Court have said that cars older than 10 and 15 years can't ply on the road. But they have never said that, the government can enter people's houses and this is a residence and this parking is in the heart of the residence and take it.
You can see that from this pocket only 7 to 8 cars have been lifted, number one. Ladies were crying, children were crying. They never heard. When anybody tried to raise, they came with the bouncers. So
people were also threatened.
So in this kind of scenario, this is the capital of the country. So now you can imagine if in the capital of the country this can happen, it can happen anywhere.
जो लोग हैं उनके यहाँ से गाड़ी जो है उठा ली जाती है बिना नोटिस के। क्या आपके भी सोसाइटी में ऐसी कोई कंप्लेन आई है?
हाँ मैडम, एक हमारी गाड़ी यहाँ पे उठाई है हमारे कोषाध्यक्ष के RWA ब्लॉक वालों की। उनको पहले कम से कम नोटिस देना चाहिए था उनको कि हम ऐसे आपकी गाड़ी उठाएंगे, पहले बताना चाहिए था। ये गलत तरीका है। गवर्नमेंट को कम से कम पहले उनको नोटिस दें या इन्फॉर्म करें कि हम आपकी गाड़ी उठाने आ रहे हैं।
यहाँ पे बिल्कुल वो आए थे और ऐसे आते हैं, 2-3 उनके साथ पुलिस वाले होते हैं और 1-2 लोग, वो 3 लोग सिविल ड्रेस में होते हैं। ये पता ही नहीं लग पाता है कि ये लोग वास्तव में उठाने वाले हैं या कबाड़ी लोग हैं। और जब उनसे शिकायत करते हैं कहना जी बस हमने तो उठानी है, ऐसा सरकार का आदेश है। जब उनसे सरकार का नोटिफिकेशन मांगा जाता है तो उसको दिखाते, वो भी नहीं दिखाते। कैसा नोटिफिकेशन हमारे पास में नहीं है, बताइए आप विदाउट नोटिफिकेशन हम उनको कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करें कि यू आर द जेन्युइन फॉलो और द।
Now, everyone has a view on the Supreme Court order. Most people who have called us in the last 24 hours say that expecting citizens to junk a 15-year-old car or 10-year-old car which is in perfect running condition is simply unreasonable. If it is well maintained and isn't blowing out emissions, then what is the logic of sending it to the scrapyard? Now, some may feel that this is the only way to deal with Delhi's pollution. But is this the way to impound vehicles? Just pick them up like they are public property. Point is that a car or a two-wheeler is not public property. It is property that is brought by hard-earned money. Hard-earned money on which citizens pay 30% tax. So don't treat us like dacoits. There is a process in place and that process needs to be followed. And this is what the process says. First, the enforcement officer will conduct a zone-wise drive and issue seizure memos to overage car owners if these cars are seen plying on the roads or are seen parked in public places. Again, what defines public places? In my colony, if I park my car, which is overage, can you come and tow it away? Is that public place? That needs to be defined. And very clearly, the first rule when you're impounding a vehicle, the first rule is that you send out a notice. You're not even sending out those notices. We've just heard from some citizens in Delhi. Then what the officers have to do is share the vehicle's location with a registered scrapping facility, which will then begin the impounding process. This scrapping facility will attach a scrap value to the vehicle as per a rate fixed by the Union Steel Ministry. And the owner can then collect this from the scrapping facility. Now, this is peanuts. This money is peanuts. But what can I say about that? So why are rules being flouted? And why are citizens being harassed? The Delhi government has refused to respond to our reporters. So has the Center for Air Quality Management. In fact, there is a blame game that is now underway. This is what the Transport Department is telling us unofficially. I don't know why it has now become a habit for most governments and departments to speak unofficially by way of sources. This is an issue that concerns the citizens of this country. And if you have something to say, even if it is in your defense, you need to come out and say it officially, not unofficially behind closed doors. Now, this is what the Transport Department says. The Transport Department says that they have been informed that there are 55 lakh vehicles in all that have been deregistered out in Delhi. Out of this, 1,87,000 have been sent notices about their cars being scrapped. Essentially, the Transport Department is saying that notices have been sent in advance. Citizens, of course, have a completely different story where they are telling us that their cars are being picked up from even inside gated colonies. The Transport Department is also saying that they are doing all of this under the CAQM's latest notification. The CAQM is the Center for Air Quality Management. Essentially, the argument here is this. The argument of the Delhi government is, look, and this is something just by the way that the Delhi Transport Minister is on record saying that we are not okay with vehicles being picked up that are parked. If there are vehicles plying on the roads of Delhi, then please go ahead and impound them and send them to the scrapyard. But the Transport Minister of Delhi is saying it is not okay for you to pick up vehicles that are parked. When he said that, the driver stopped. That is Mr. Gehlot. The driver stopped for a brief while. And then came an order from the CAQM, which is the Center for Air Quality Management in Delhi. The CAQM, according to the Transport Ministry of Delhi, says, ask them to seize vehicles that are not just plying on the roads, but those that are parked on public property, which is why this drive has resumed again. Now, point is, as I said, these are questions, there are questions that need to be answered. And we have our reporters asking these questions to the right people, to the Delhi government, to the LG, to the AUQM as well. Are there any answers forthcoming officially on camera? Nothing. My colleague Kanchan went to the Commission for Air Quality Management. She tried to speak to the PRO there. She tried to speak to the officials there. She tried to speak to the head there. Just see what happens. Forget anyone speaking to her. She was denied entry even into the office. This is a reporter who's asking questions on your behalf because the citizens of this country are being harassed. And when a reporter asks these questions, and these are simple questions to answer, there is nothing complicated about it. If the department wanted, they could have just put their side of the story forward. But our reporter was simply turned away. The guards asked her not to step into the office. Take a look.
Well, absolutely. First, no notices and now no response from the authorities. In fact, I must tell you that we've been barred from entering the building of Commission for Air Quality Management. Just a while back, we were told that we cannot go and speak with the chairperson. This is the office of the Commission for Air Quality Management. We went there to seek answers on the behalf of the people, the citizens whose right have been trampled upon by the authorities. Now, you can also see that now security guard is coming our way. They've been trying and stopping stopping us from entering the building since morning. We've been trying to get their answer on the entire situation, why the cars are being impounded and scrapped without any notices, without any prior information. We tried to get in touch with the chairman of the commission, but we were told time and again that he's busy, he's caught up somewhere. But we stood at the office for close to 3 hours, but no response at all from the commission, from the chairman of this commission. We just wanted to ask him question as to why the cars are being impounded and scrapped without any notices, without any prior intimation.
Okay, that was Akansha. Similar questions, at least we had similar questions from the LG of Delhi and from the government of Delhi. Again, as I said, no one forthcoming with any answers. So no answers, no notification, no informing car owners, simply picking up these vehicles wherever they feel like. The opposition is calling this Delhi's Tughlaki Farman. Listen in.
ये एक ड्राइव शुरू की गई थी दिल्ली सरकार की तरफ से, जहां बोला गया था जो पुरानी गाड़ियां हैं, जो डीजल की गाड़ियां 10 साल पुरानी, पेट्रोल की गाड़ियां 15 साल पुरानी, उन्हें डी रजिस्टर करके स्क्रैपिंग के लिए भेजा जाएगा। लेकिन अब जो है, अब यहाँ के नागरिक ये कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं कि उन्हें नोटिस भी नहीं दिया जा रहा है और अचानक से जो उनकी गाड़ी है, जिसमें उन्होंने अपना टैक्स पेइंग सिटीजन्स ने अपना पैसा लगाया, उसे अचानक से उठा के लेके जा रहे हैं और कोई रिस्पॉन्स भी नहीं आ रहा। इसे आप कैसे देखते?
देखिए, मैं समझता हूं कि ये नई दिल्ली सरकार की, जो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार है, एक बार फिर से उजागर करता है कि इनको जनता के हित से या जनता की हो रही परेशानियों से इनका कोई सरोकार नहीं है। थ्रू मिरर नाउ मैं ये निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ, थ्रू मीडिया में ये निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ कि दिल्ली के जितने भी इस तरह की गाड़ियों को उठाने की कवायद है, वो बिना नोटिस के न किया जाए, प्रायर नोटिस दिया जाए, उनको एक निश्चित समय दिया जाए ताकि वो अपनी तैयारी कर सकें। उसके बाद जो कार्रवाई है उसको करना चाहिए, जिससे लोगों को अपनी प्लानिंग करने में आसानी हो।
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. Nowhere in the world is force used to implement a scrapping policy. Nowhere in the world is gundagardi like this used. What is used is incentive. US, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, many other European countries incentivized scrapping old vehicles and giving a rebate of up to 4,500 rupees to purchase a new fuel-efficient vehicle. In fact, the US was able to remove 6.9 lakh fuel-inefficient vehicles with this drive. And guess what? People participated in this drive in big numbers because no one was forcefully towing away your vehicle and making you feel like a chore. It is incredible how these countries introduced vehicle scrappage programs and achieved a dual outcome. Most of these countries introduced these programs in 2009, right after the financial crisis of 2008. So not only were they able to remove pollution, overage vehicles, but also give the auto industry a push which was reeling under the 2008 crisis. Scrapping old vehicles, keeping the car owners happy, and helping boost the economy. That was a win-win situation, not the one that is currently playing out, where you have departments within the Delhi government, half loyal to the political establishment, the other half loyal to the LG, fighting amongst each other and shifting the blame from one department to another. Let me go across to my guests who are joining me this evening. Arun Malhotra is an auto industry expert. He's the former MD of Nissan India. He's joining us on the broadcast. Tejinder Bedi is a petitioner. In this case, he's joining us as well. Nakul Narang is someone who owns an old car and someone who's very actively been looking at all these cases that are coming in Delhi. In fact, he's the one who has helped us through, getting in touch with many people, because before you put out a campaign, you speak to people and you want to know what exactly is happening. And he's the one who's been helping us with that. But Arun Malhotra, I'm going to come to you first. What do you make of this, gundagardi? I won't even say dadagiri. This gundagardi that is going on the streets of the capital by way of a government department, where a citizen is being treated like a chore, like a dacoit, and their vehicles are simply being picked up without even a notice being served. Now, by way of sources, Mr. Malhotra, just by way of sources, the transport department is saying, nahi, 55 lakh vehicles have been deregistered, but we have given notices. Where have they given notices? If there are so many citizens who are calling us, so many citizens speaking to us on camera and saying, no one told us. They simply showed up one day at our colonies, at our offices, and picked up our vehicles.
So, Shreya, what you're saying is absolutely right. It is absolutely shocking, and it reeks of lack of apathy with anybody, the way citizens are being treated. But I'm trying to step back. What is being done is terrible, but I'm trying to step back and see how it can be improved. I think the basic problem, which if you look at it from the first point, is when 2015, the NGT passed a law that Delhi, this 10 years and 15 vehicles will be scrapped, and the Supreme Court in 2018 had consented to it. The problem is that there was a scrappage policy which was brought into place. But the scrappage policy doesn't have an incentive system, which you mentioned in your report. Basically, you incentivize people who do, whether in terms of local sales tax, whether in terms of registration charges, or whether in terms of buying new vehicle. So effectively, it's a half-baked approach which is being followed. And then nobody has gone back. The NGT is applicable for the entire country, but it's only being done for NCR. So what the problem is, unless there is something done at the basic level, and at the basic level is, I think there has to be an appeal goes to Supreme Court again, that please look at this situation, because the way it happens is there's a target, the target is not met, then everybody goes on overdrive, then this way it happens. So we'll have to resolve this issue out, and I don't think stopping them, even if the notices are sent, do you really want to take away the vehicle of a normal person whose vehicle is running fine? The way the law is made is not just okay. I mean, vehicles may be of good quality, you may maintain it. So there is something which should be done at a level, and I think ultimately it has to go to the Supreme Court and NGT, the way it is done, because they need to define it very clearly. Then the implementation is poor, there's no two opinion, but I think the base still starts from NGT and Supreme Court.
But Mr. Malhotra, you are saying it. As a citizen of this country and as someone who's been with the auto industry for a long time, you are saying this on camera. Since yesterday, the last 24 hours, there is not a single viewer who has called us to say that we are happy with the Supreme Court in 2018 outlawing vehicles that are 10 years old and 15 years old. Not a single person.
That's
and you know,
right,
most of us suffer from, I mean, we live in the most polluted city in this world. And we all know with every breath we take how bad pollution is in this city. We want it to go away. But is that how pollution will go away in Delhi? By scrapping vehicles that are 10 years old? And scrapping vehicles that are 15 years old and are in perfectly good condition and that are very expensive. It's not like you're talking about a bicycle ki 10 saal purani cycle hai, bech do, nahi kharid lo. It's not that. You go buy a car, there is no car that is less than 10 lakh or 15 lakh rupees. You want me to junk a car after using it for 10 years or 15 years? How does that make sense? And we have a report from Terry. And, you know, there are multiple and contradictory reports, you know, on this. But to support my case, there is a report from Terry in 2018 that tells us that four-wheelers cause only 3% of Delhi's pollution.
Absolutely
right. If that is the case, why should I throw away my 15-year-old vehicle? And my point is, if every citizen who has called on this show in the last 24 hours is saying it, why has someone not said it to the Supreme Court? Why has the government that represents us not said it to the Supreme Court? That to me is fairly stunning. Nakul, Narang, would you want to come in here? The Transport Department, again, not giving us any clear answers. But they are telling us that we have issued notices. About 2 lakh notices we have issued. Do you believe them?
I don't think so.
Because none of the people we are speaking to seem to have got notices. Exactly.
Yeah. See, the thing is, if they know that a car is 10 years old, if they can deregister it automatically, are they even refunding the tax, the road tax to the people? They aren't doing that. Where is all that money going? When people are buying new cars, till date in Delhi, let's say there is a 10% road tax on the sale of a new car. That was 10% when the validity was 15 years. Now also it is 10%. So shouldn't the tax be reduced on pro rata basis on diesel cars? You are collecting tax for 15 years and you are giving a life of 10 years. If I talk about the neighboring cities, Gurgaon, Faridabad, Noida, all these places, the registration is still happening for 15 years. The government is taking tax for 15 years and allowing people to use their vehicle for 10 years. This is completely unfair. The NGT order has to be backed by scientific research. When I bought my car in 2011, I was given a registration certificate for 15 years. My assumption and my belief was that I will use this vehicle for the next 15 years. I will get it serviced on time. I spent money to maintain it. In fact, I even paid premium over a petrol car just to get a diesel car. And ultimately, when the cars were banned, I had no option, but I had to sell it off. And that too at a very depreciated price because there were no buyers in the market. So the entire rule is flawed. And when somebody buys a new car, they end up paying 50% tax. 28% is the GST, 12% is the cess, 10% is the road tax. And whatever tax you pay on insurance and other components, I'm not even considering that. So we are paying 50% tax when we are buying a new car. We are paying income tax. I don't agree to the judgment or that has been given by the Honorable Supreme Court. And NGT, they need to reconsider the decision.
And we have a public servant on this broadcast as well, who is now a citizens' right activist. Mr. Bharadwaj, you're joining us. Rajiv Bharadwaj is with us as well. But before I go to him, I'm going to go across to 3 callers. We'll try and take as many callers as we can on this show. Yogesh, you're calling us from Dwarka in New Delhi. Please go ahead. Good evening to you.
Yes. Actually, I was watching your program in the mirror now, and I also felt that I should call to you. Actually, I have a diesel vehicle and I registered it in Gurgaon, and it is for 15 years. And I paid tax for 15 years. And my plannings, my financial plannings, and my other plannings are related to this. I maintain my car very well. Whatever last your viewer was saying that he had done all the service on time and all the things like that. I also use my car very, very fair ways, and now it's government decision that what is happening.
Good point.
So I'm also worried. I'm also
it's a good point. You're saying that you're saying that you paid a tax for 15 years on your vehicle, and now you're being told that the vehicle will be junked after 10 years. Who will return you the tax for the remaining 5 years? Is the government even trying to do it? Have they even offered to do it? No, they haven't. Instead, what the government has offered and the transport department is offering is peanuts in turn for scrapping your vehicle. Let me go across to some other callers who are calling us. Let's go across to a caller from Bangalore. Mangesh is calling us. Mangesh, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, and I would like to I appreciate Mirror Now team because I'm a regular caller here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and thank you for being a regular caller. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I have a different viewpoint. Actually, I think I have been watching this debate since last 2 days. Many callers or your experts have already suggested as long as the car is having fitness certificate and not the environment, then that should be fine actually. And other thing is, nowadays even if anyone buy cars and it made an accident, if the doors are damaged, then directly the doors are replacing. If my car is getting new by replacement of all the spare parts and all, it can go another 15 years. Okay. So nowadays nobody repairs even electrical things. It is easily assembled and replaceable spare parts. So as long as the chassis is good to go, car can go even 30 years. So this is not really good what is happening. And I have different point of view from the people point of view. This is a socio-economic issue because our economy is not that robust for people to buy several cars in their lifetime of 70 years. We are not United States where the interest rate on car loan and automobile are peanuts in America. So in our banking system itself is giving higher interest rate to everybody. So how people can survive, middle class people can survive. So this need to be looked in a many different socio-economic angle, and also politicians or the government should not be making policies. They should do referendum. They should be asking people opinion and take a lot of referendum and then make some changes. What is the pinpoint areas within the citizens of the country? That is my point of view.
True. True. Thank you very much. True. Thank you very much. Was anyone in Delhi asked before this scrappage policy was introduced by the NGT to begin with in 2014? No, it wasn't. No one asked. You know, there was a lot of hue and cry about the pollution in the city. Something had to be done. And it seemed the easiest thing to do was this. Now turns out it's not as easy as you thought. How will you scrap 55 lakh vehicles? And these vehicles are not being scrapped just by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, I had a caller on my show. And I wish, we could get him again. And this time on record, on camera. The caller told me that 2 years ago, his father had to give away his car to the scrapyard because it was overage. It had crossed 15 years. After 2 years of that moment of giving away the car to the Delhi Transport Department, who told him that it is going to the scrapyard, after 2 years, this gentleman gets a call from Punjab, from a service center, thanking him for his patronage and asking him for feedback. So clearly this gentleman's car had not gone to the scrapyard. It had been sold off to someone in Punjab. And there is a mafia operating. This is something that many of our viewers have told us. Let me get in some more callers. We have Kanchan who's calling us from New Delhi. Kanchan, go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening, Shreya. I've also been seeing your show for the last 2 days. I heard the ex-MD say that in 2015 the NGT passed an order and thereafter the Supreme Court confirmed it in 2018. But from 18 till 23, it's been 5 years. Has the pollution gone down? The policy has been implemented in NCR. The second point I wanted to say was what the MD said, that scrapping of the car is not going to save anything. And therefore, it is better. We have cars. I face this problem. I had a Mercedes and I had to sell that Mercedes for 5 lakh of rupees, and it is today running in Punjab. I get a call from the owner now that he's never got a better car than that. I drove in 10 years only 50,000 kilometers. Now, do you expect a Mercedes only to run 50,000 kilometers? It can run 10 lakh kilometers without polluting anything. So my request to your channel is that you started a good campaign. This campaign should not stop here. It should convert into a public interest litigation. It should be taken up by the associations of vehicle owners or the auto owners. And the Supreme Court should be informed about the fact that there are vehicles which can run more than 15 years because they are in a better condition, they are better maintained. There are people who cannot buy cars twice, and it becomes difficult. So I would comment that
I'll tell you this.
Guys...
I will tell you this. Thank you very much, because what you say is encouraging to us. When viewers call, we know people are watching and that we are on the right track. But the fact is that there was a petition. There were several petitions actually in the Supreme Court. One of the petitioners was in our studios last evening, and he told us that the Supreme Court wasn't willing to listen, that in fact, they were fined 8 lakh rupees, he was telling me, once the show got over, by the Supreme Court for a frivolous petition. So it's not like people have not gone to the Supreme Court asking them to reconsider their decision. The Supreme Court, in its wisdom, has decided to stick by what it has decided. Now, given the fact that the Delhi government is in an overdrive to impound vehicles, there is harassment of citizens. Many citizens like you are speaking out against the policy. Maybe the government that represents us should go to the Supreme Court, knock at the Supreme Court's door, and present our point of view as well. because, we live in a large democratic country and there are different points of views, and all those points of views should get reflected in the Supreme Court and in television studios and in governments as well. Nakul, you're calling us from Gurugram. Go ahead, please. Good evening.
First of all, I would like to thank you for bringing up this agenda and taking it a campaign, making it a nationwide movement. And I'm connecting, although I'm a resident of Gurugram, residing in Maharashtra. And I work for an automotive firm only. I'm into the automotive manufacturing firm. And I would like to bring out certain points over here. Like, although our government is pinpointing in specifically for Delhi NCR that due to the pollution crisis and all the global warming effects, but why aren't we seeing the examples of the Western countries? Because our government is known, our automotive industry is known for having the ridiculous RTO norms throughout the world. It is mocked at the international level that we have one of the ridiculous norms. And this is the second thing, which is another nail in the coffin. And we have a challan on having films. You know how hot the climate are these days. The automobiles have to run on full air conditioners, and because of which the mileage depletes, people have to go for again tank top-ups, and we have again being a source of revenue generation because we consume more oil and more revenue for the government. And indirectly, our vehicles are banned to run for more than 10 years. I have a 7-year-old diesel car. I drive it down from Maharashtra to Delhi, and because my vehicle is having a license plate of Maharashtra, of Gurgaon, it is just being, because of all these online resale platforms, I'm getting a scrappage value of my car because only it is having a license plate of Gurugram. Our government is publicizing us that our Honorable Transport Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, is using a hydrogen vehicle car, which is a Toyota Mirai. It is a 60 lakhs car, and please note that this is excluding of all the tax. And the government publicized it that it is emitting water. And this is a green initiative which the government is taking towards the environment conservation. But this is not the fact. Everyone cannot afford a 60 lakh vehicle. So why are we given a false picture and we are being bullied by the government?
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is bullying. I agree with you there as well. I completely agree with you. And there are enough and more environmentalists who will tell you that probably running a car which is in good condition and not emitting emissions for as long as possible is way more environmentally friendly than buying a new car, especially an electric vehicle. Many environmentalists will tell you that. Group Captain Rakesh Anand, you're joining us on the broadcast as well. Good evening, sir. Please go ahead.
A very good evening to you. I was just listening to the last speaker. I fully endorse his views, and I definitely endorse your views too. Whatever you have just said. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Group Captain, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
If you can hear me, I would like to say that I fully endorse the views of the speaker who was just speaking ahead of me, and I also definitely fully endorse whatever you responded to him about. Okay, but I have a very personal view on the whole issue. You know, since I was a child, I wanted, it was an ambition for me to drive a Mercedes. And I'm not sure whether I'm there. And
yes, you are. I can hear you absolutely loud and clear. So go ahead.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Now I can hear you. So what I was trying to talk about was something it's a little personal. I feel this is, all of us, we need to have a human touch to the whole thing. Right. You buy a car worth 60 lakhs or 50 lakhs. I've spent all my earnings in trying to achieve a dream. In the last 6 years, my car has done 30,000 kilometers. Right. And another 4 years, if these guys are going to scrap it, where will I have the money to buy another Mercedes? And why should they scrap it? I'm maintaining it well. Like you rightly said, the emission policy should be tightly controlled. If you have the courage of conviction and you speak about excellent governance, then govern effectively. Make sure that a vehicle which is polluting the atmosphere gets scrapped. A vehicle which is not polluting the atmosphere, why are you scrapping it? And I have one more small point to make, if you allow me. Can you imagine the amount of carbon dioxide or these gases which are emitted in producing a new car? How much carbon footprint is there in scrapping these cars? much, much, much more than what a normally well-driven car would be emitting. You are forcing us to change cars 3-4 times in our life.
I agree with you.
What is the requirement? I mean, this is basic common sense.
I agree with you.
I don't want to point any fingers, but it appears to me that the whole exercise is driven towards making the rich richer. People buy more cars, and the people like us who are the tedious types, tax deducted at source, 30-40% of our salary goes in taxes in any case. And we are a very minuscule amount of people who pay taxes. And now you are pushing a order or a kind of a directive which is not palatable to anyone. They are forcing it down our throats. It is very unfair. Thank you.
I agree it's unfair, and I also agree that you cannot treat cars like fast fashion. You cannot treat the automotive industry like you treat the fashion industry. That you wear a shirt for 2 years, you throw it away, you discard it. You wear a trouser for 1 year, you discard it because it's out of fashion. You don't do it with a car. You simply don't do it with a car because you're spending 10 lakh rupees, 15 lakh rupees to buy a car. And then you are told that you can only keep it for 10 years. And after 10 years, you have to buy a new car. Or you can only keep it for 15 years and you have to buy it after buy a new car. Why should I buy a car every 15 years? I think it's a waste of money. If I can run my car for 20 years, why should I not run it for 20 years? Yes, the government has every right to tell me that your city is super polluted and we need to ensure that your car is not emitting this pollution. Please check the fitness of my car. Check it every year. Cancel its registration if it is polluting. But if it is in fit condition, if it is not polluting the city I live in, why on earth should I not run my car as long as possible? I don't have the kind of money to buy a new car every 10 years. Not many tax-paying citizens in this country do. I'm going across to my guest, another guest this evening. Mr. Bharadwaj, you've been a public servant and now you're a citizen rights activist as well. I want to ask you when governments form policies, in this case it wasn't the central government, in this case it was the NGT, and then an NGT order was upheld by the Supreme Court. But when such decisions are taken, why is there not more participation by the public? After all, this is a decision that impacts every citizen in the national capital. Why is there no consultative process? Why does this entire drive have to become about coercion?
I'm hearing opinions.
Mr. Bharadwaj, unfortunately, there's a bit of a problem with your audio there. Cyclone Biparjoy is way away in, all the way in Kutch, but I think the impact is being felt by your phone line or the connecting line. So we'll just try and connect with you in just a bit as soon as we have a clear line with you. Can I just quickly take in 2 more callers before I get in another petitioner in the case actually into the show as well? Nasir Hussain, you're calling us from Mumbai. Go ahead, please. Good evening.
My point of view here was very clear. Am I audible? Hello, am I
loud and clear, sir?
Okay, my point here was very simple as I was hearing all the discussion. Yeah, a common man like me who buys a second-hand car for the safety of my family, and what I see is with my global experience of driving in different countries and maintaining vehicles, here what I see is the national policy by the Transport Ministry is changing purely because of the new automobile makers who want to come into the market and sell their automobiles to the different people. And what I'm worried about is the whole nation is going to face this as the next future in the automobile use here in India. So these policies I'm worried about being implemented not only in Delhi but all across the nation by the Transport Ministry. And a man like me who works for a common man and takes a second-hand car for the safety of his family to travel across the city of Mumbai or anywhere else in India, it gets very difficult to travel with your wife and kids on a motorcycle. So I went up and bought a second-hand car. And if the policies are changing drastically, then how do we common people get safety while traveling? And what I foresee is that this is a national issue which is going to come up in the next years with all the states and all the cities all across India. Because the major automobile industries, they're trying to sell new cars. And if you do not scrap an old car, then how do you get a buyer? So my point of view is, should I buy a car for the safety of my family, or for traveling safety, or to buy a new car with millions of rupees involved in this? So what I foresee is the government is forcing a policy on every common man in India.
Okay, so you're saying it will not just be restricted to Delhi. Fact is that under the Motor Vehicles Act, in any case from June 1st, 2024, any vehicle, private vehicle that is over 20 years of age, there is a process to it. It will either be junked or it will have to be re-registered. We'll get more details to that. But for the moment, can I quickly go across to VR Pai, who's joining us from Delhi? Mr. Pai, go ahead, please.
I have got 2 points to make here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. See, what I want to say is that in the debate, I've been listening that the government is not hearing to the pleas of the public, and the public, is unable to take a point on this. So what I would suggest is that there are so many car owners in this country. They should only, make a signature campaign kind of a thing, and tell the government that, especially the government of Delhi, that in 2024 elections, we will not be voting for you if you do not take up our cause. That is point number one. And in that case, if maybe the government will wake up and try to, hear the citizens' voices. And secondly, if by selling new cars, the government is going to earn some more taxes, they can as well give this option to the car owner, that after 10, 15 years or 10 years, if you pay some more taxes, you can still run your car if their pollution is under control. So perhaps these two things can be, taken up to the government to find a solution to the problems.
Okay. Okay, thank you. In fact, Tejinder Bedi, who's on the panel with us, has done exactly that. On change.org, he started a signature campaign. Mr. Bedi, you started a signature campaign. If you would want to tell our viewers why you did it and what you will do with the success you've had with the signature campaign. You've had the signature campaign, you had 60,000 people, sign on to your petition. But uska fayda kya hai if no one is listening?
First of all, thank you very much to your channel Times Now and Mirror Now. I'm grateful that you have given due weightage to my petition. You are the third media platform which is lending an ear to it. And it's really, really very nice that after the campaign is launched yesterday, so many people have woken up and everybody is, busy with the calls, rushing through with their comments and observations and also very good suggestions. I started this petition on 2nd of February 2022 because my car at that time was already more than 10 years old, and this order had come in 2015 and upheld again by the Supreme Court in 2018. So I initiated the petition because this is the only car, which I possessed post-retirement. And I thought at the age of 60 or 65, I can live the average life expectancy of an Indian of 70. और यही कार जो है वो मेरा पूरा साथ दे सकती है. But with this law, I had to make a distress sale, which inspired me to initiate the petition. I'm very happy to share with the viewers and listeners, and your channel, of course, already knows it, that my petition has been viewed by 73,000 people so far. There are 8,700 people who have reshared it further, and in all, nearly 55,000 people have supported it and signed it. Now, these signatures are only for the senior citizen segment for which my petition was addressed. You can imagine, if instead of senior citizens, the percentage of which in the country is just about 10 to 11%, if it was addressed to all the old car owners, maybe several lakhs of people would have signed it by now, because the basic policy is not being appreciated by the young and the old, whatever car owner is there. But it has made an impact. People are becoming aware about it. And with the participation of more people, I am sure that it will take a good shape now.
It is not being appreciated by the elderly, sir? No, it is taking a good shape, because your concern is the concern of not just pensioners, but it is a concern for everyone who works very hard, to earn their own money. And when you buy a car or when you buy a two-wheeler, this is hard-earned money you're spending. You work, you work 9 days a week, 9 hours a week, 6 days a week. You pay 30% tax on your income. You don't want to scrap your car in 10 years or 15 years. We are a country that is very cost conscious. We don't even discard our plastic bags in which vegetables come and in which clothes come. We fold it carefully because we know that it can be reused and it should be reused, and that's the environment friendly way to live. That's what our country has adhered to always, which is why I'm surprised that in 2018 this order comes out and the government didn't think it fit to appeal against this order, because it is something that impacts the citizens of this country. But more than that, the focus for the last 24 hours has been how the government of Delhi, specifically the transport department, has been conducting this drive in a high-handed manner. In fact, we have more callers coming in. But ladies and gentlemen, I do have to take a break. There is a commercial commitment. I do need to take a break. We have more callers, so I'll request our viewers to stay with us. I'll request our callers to stay with us. I'm coming back in exactly 2 minutes. Okay, we have 5 minutes more on the show. Quickly getting in some callers. Sunil, you're calling us from Faridabad. Please go ahead. Good evening.
Yeah, thank you, Shreya, and my compliments to your channel for picking up this issue which is concerning us. I retired in 2013 and I purchased a mid-size car spending 8 lakhs. And I thought, okay, fine, this will last me 15 years. That is what the life expectancy is. Now I am told that next year by November, it will complete 10 years, and since it's a diesel car, it will have to be scrapped. Now you can imagine that suppose I live beyond that. I mean, my age is now 67, so if I have to live for another 10 years, scrapping my car and trying to buy a new car again, would it be impossible? Firstly, I'm retired, so nobody will give me a loan. And then I have to invest money from my own pocket, which I would not like to do at this age. So this thing has not been thought. My car has run only 70,000 kilometers because after retirement, you don't have to travel much. It is more for your use only. So I personally feel that if the car is functioning properly, they have simply decided if car is diesel, it will be scrapped in 10 years. If it's a petrol, it will be scrapped in 15 years. Plus, I have to pay for tax again. And nobody will finance me also. So what do? I leave, I get my car scrapped, and then how do I travel? So this thing, I personally feel this has not been thought through. The signature campaign being started by Mr. Bedi is a good thing, but I don't think so it will see the steam required, because the decision taken by NGT and upheld by Supreme Court, this needs to be reviewed. It is very important. Otherwise, people like us who are retired, they will be in deep trouble.
Okay. You are, I think, the 100th caller on this show, sir, who's saying that this needs to be reviewed. Everyone on this show has said that this needs to be reviewed. And I'm not talking about experts. I'm talking about common citizens who are saying it. Mr. Ved Prakash is calling us from Delhi. Good evening, Mr. Ved Prakash. Please go ahead. Okay. Anirudh from Jaipur is with us. Anirudh, good evening. Go ahead, please.
I just want to say that if, who are opposing this, this initiative by the government, if the government stays firm in its decision, then what is to be done? In my opinion, the government, both the state government and the central government, it.
Okay. I'm afraid callers and viewers, I won't be able to take any more phone calls because the show is just about ending. And I do need to get in a word from Mr. Rajiv Bharadwaj, who's been with us for more than 50 minutes. Unfortunately, we've not been able to go to him because of some technical issues. Mr. Bharadwaj, there are enough and more people. You've heard them in the last 1 hour. I've been hearing them for the last 24 hours say the policy needs to be reviewed. Yes, the policy needs to be reviewed. I don't know how it will be reviewed, but because the NGT and the Supreme Court are very clear that this is the only way to tackle pollution in the national capital. My point is, the point I was asking you is, if a policy impacts the citizens of this country, why are citizens of this country not consulted before it is implemented or brought into being?
Shreya, it is not the question of policy to be reviewed. See, any law, the law exists in the perpetual dynamism of the society. If the society wants some changes, it will come. But in the present case, the moot question is the law is there. And the implementation of law is not being done properly. It is a matter of governance, accountability, and responsibility.
Correct.
And because the governance is not transparent, the people are confused. They are frustrated. Why? Now I can tell you, even it is neither the NGT nor the Supreme Court, they have said that we are amending the Motor Vehicle Act. It is the suggestion of the government telling that we want to discard 10-year-old diesel car, or we want to go for a scrappage policy. Now the scrappage policy, the rule-making power is with the central government. The central government has made a rule, and that rule has been notified recently. Because you are running short of time, I will go very fast. The criteria for scrapping the vehicles, it is under para 8 of that notified rules. Are they following? Are the administration, the governance, the transport department, or whosoever it may be in the government, is following this criteria? Number one. Number two, even if you go by the Delhi government scrappage policy, they say applicable act and rules. The provisions of following act and rules are applicable for a scrapping. That is Motor Vehicle Act 1988. So nowhere they say that they are going to violate the Motor Vehicle Act 1988. So they are telling that we will follow 1988, but in practice they are violating it, and this is where the citizens are aggrieved. Why? And nobody is coming forward to do this. If you have little more time, I can give you why I got involved in this. See, in Supreme Court order,
Mr. Bharadwaj, we can maybe speak about that. Mr. Bharadwaj, can I interrupt you here? We'll have to talk about that possibly tomorrow, because our campaign continues tomorrow as well. It's rather unfortunate that the connection with you wasn't very good, because of which I can't come to you earlier today. But, there is an issue. Many people say that there is an issue with the policy and the law itself. I will not quarrel with that, because this is the Supreme Court of India that has, upheld that policy. But I definitely have a quarrel on behalf of the citizens of this city about the way the transport department is implementing it. It smacks of arrogance. It smacks of high-handedness. Citizens of this city are not dacoits. They are honest tax-paying citizens. So stop harassing them. And please, Mirana has some questions for you. Transport department and other allied departments, please answer our questions instead of shooing away our reporters. You are answerable, well, not to Mirana, but you are answerable certainly to the citizens of this city and this country. If they have questions, you better answer. Ladies and gentlemen, we leave it there for the moment. As I said, our campaign continues for the moment. It's over to my colleague Nivedana, who's coming to you with all the news at 9. Do stay with Mirror now.